common sense recap of the day's biggest stories. It's John Catsimatidis and Rita Cosby. Katz and Cosby on 77 WABC.
And joining us now here on Katz and Cosby is Congressman Mike Lawler of the great state of New York. Mike, first of all, your reaction to everything that we're seeing at the DNC and all these crazy protests like we've been talking about outside.
Well, thanks for having me, Rita. You know, obviously within the Democratic Party, there has been a large and growing, frankly, pro-Hamas wing of the party. Protesting not only Israel, but America. Just a few weeks ago, taking down the American flag and burning it, and raising the Palestinian flag and spray painting Hamas on monuments in Washington, D.C. And obviously, this part of the Democratic Party is in Chicago protesting Jewish events, protesting outside the convention hall, protesting inside the convention hall last night while the president was speaking. And I think it just speaks volumes to the challenges within the Democratic Party. This is why Democrats were so concerned about Michigan and Minnesota, and obviously the large base of Muslim voters in Dearborn and in Minneapolis, and trying to appease those folks, and especially when you look at Chuck Schumer, the Senate Majority Leader, highest-ranking Jewish official in America, writing a book, quote unquote, about combating anti-Semitism, while at the same time refusing to bring my bill, the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act, to the floor for a vote, despite it passing overwhelmingly in the House, 320 to 91, and having over 70 senators in support of it in the Senate, refusing to bring it up. Why? Because he's concerned about dividing the Democratic Senate conference, knowing full well people like Bernie Sanders will vote against it. Knowing full well that, folks like Elizabeth Warren will vote against it.
And Mike, tell everybody again, Congressman, what that bill would have said, because that's amazing. Tell everybody what it seems like that would be logical to pass.
The bill's very straightforward. It codifies President Trump's executive order into law, requiring the Department of Education to use the IRA working definition of anti-Semitism and all of its contemporary examples for Title VI discrimination enforcement cases of the 1964 Civil Rights Act. And it basically forces the Department of Education to hold these universities and colleges accountable for Title VI violations, and specifically anti-Semitism. And obviously, we're just a few weeks away from school starting again. I believe Columbia University, for instance, classes start on September 3rd. And Chuck Schumer has refused to bring this bill to the floor for a vote, despite knowing full well that this is critical. If we're going to combat anti-Semitism on these college campuses, this is important. And you see, obviously, the anti-Semitism that has permeated the Democratic Party in Chicago right now on full display.
Yeah, that is stunning. Judge Weinberg, Mark, Congressman Lawler.
It's good to talk to you again. Listen, let me talk to you about Columbia. Columbia has just let these kids off the hook. They have not been disciplined. The ones who took over the campus, intimidated other students, held captive people who work there, the janitorial staff, and then you have a DA in Manhattan who didn't prosecute. So what you have is you have twofold abdication of responsibility. The administrators at Columbia, which created an unsafe environment and allowed for intimidation in violation of the civil rights of the Jewish students, and shut down the campus. They stopped the graduation. And then you have a prosecutor, a local prosecutor, DA, Bragg, who refused to prosecute these kids. So you're sending out a signal, no big deal, do whatever the hell you want.
No question about it, Judge Weinberg. And here's, part of the problem. There's no consequences for anything. And these kids that were protesting back in the spring, aren't facing any consequences. And so they have no problem continuing to engage in this. And that's why my concern is when these kids come back to school in September, that these anti-Semitic protests are going to flare up again. And, you know, when you have people like Alvin Bragg who refuse to prosecute, crimes, refuse to hold people accountable, violent offenders accountable, people engaged in hate crimes accountable, you're going to see more of this. And I think that's what we've certainly seen in major cities across the country. And on the part of the Democratic Party, folks who support the defund the police movement, like my opponent, Mondaire Jones, and you see Kamala Harris supported the defund the police movement. I think what's fascinating about their convention, frankly, I watched most of the speeches last night, including Governor Hochul, who was an absolute embarrassment and couldn't even string together two sentences. You look at their speeches and what they're talking about. Obviously, everything for them is Trump and abortion, but they say nothing about how they're going to deal with the affordability crisis. They say nothing on how they're going to actually secure the border. They say nothing on how they're going to combat the malign influence of China, Russia, Iran, and the unholy alliance that those three countries have engaged in. And so I think when you look at the challenges facing this country, and you listen to the speeches at the Democratic convention, they're not focused on how to address the real challenges. They're not focused on how to, tackle public safety and hold people accountable.
Absolutely.
For their conduct.
Congressman Lawler, we just have literally about 30 seconds left. The road to majority, it seems, to me, looking at everything in the House, it goes through New York, right? New York and California. Explain how important New York is.
No question. Look, over the last two cycles in New York and California, Republicans have flipped 10 seats, including mine. And these are the seats that determine control of the House in 2022. And they're the seats that are going to determine control of the House in 2024. And so, for folks who want to support me and make sure we hold on to the House, you can text Lawler to 85007. That's Lawler to 85007, or visit LawlerForCongress.com. My race is going to be one of the most expensive in the country, upwards of $40 million. The Democrats are already spending over $1 million on New York City broadcast, lying about my record on the issue of abortion. I've been very clear. I will never support a federal ban on abortion. I do believe in exceptions for rape, incest, and the life and health of the mother. I do support IVF protections. So despite all the lies that you continue to hear from Democrats trying to scare people and try to flip these seats, I'm going to continue to talk about the issues that matter. My opponent was the third most progressive member of Congress in his brief one term in Congress before he fled the Hudson Valley and ran in New York City and lost.
Yep.
He supported defund the police. He supported open borders. He supported Medicare for all. He supported the disastrous cashless bail law and congestion pricing. And we're going to hold him accountable for it. And I think voters will hold him accountable in November when he loses again. And the only question left will be what district he runs in 2026.
Sounds like a candidate Kamala Harris would love.
Yeah, exactly. She would love him. Congressman Mike Lawler, thank you very much for doing everything you do to keep us safe. And you got to come back on again soon. We always love having you on. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank
Take care,
you
everyone.
so much.